Hey, welcome back to Newbies to Movies. I'm Justin, and this week we have on a special guest, a longtime listener of the show, my mom.
Hello, everybody. Excited to be here.
So, yeah, just to start, tell me kind of what's your favorite genre of movies? What's your favorite movies to watch? Yeah, just what do you like watching?
I like the old 80s movies. I like a lot of the classics, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weekend at Bernie, just like, you know me. So I clean the house or cooking in the kitchen, and I always just, those old movies seem to play over and over. So I like watching all those. I like rom-coms. I don't like scary movies at all. I do like kind of like psychological, like The Sixth Sense. Like I loved that movie, but once you kind of see it, the ending's blown. So but no scary movies at all. But rom-com, a lot of times we'll check out shows on Netflix or Prime, trying to find something different to watch versus the same old movies after, over and over again.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big reason we did this podcast too, me and Tyler, just to kind of expand and get out of our comfort zone of the movies we'd be stuck watching. But yeah, definitely the non-horror genes running in the family. I'm not a big fan of horror movies for the same reasons. But yeah, this week we'll be diving into Anne Hathaway as an actor, specifically in her roles with Rachel Getting Married and The Devil Wears Prada. Finally bit the bullet on this one. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about it because the second one just came out. We originally planned to watch Les Mis, but we found out that she wanted a supporting actress role in that, and she had 15 minutes of screen time. I guess kind of shows her versatility as an actress. But yeah, first we'll kind of get into what we've been watching this week. So if you want to start, just tell me something that you've been watching or a show or a movie or.
Does hockey count?
Yeah.
Been watching lots of hockey, big hockey fan, so just watching the playoffs and ready for the Stanley Cup finals. And then we just started, I can't even really talk about it too much, a series on Prime called Off Campus
Mm.
about a hockey player. And Madison was telling us that it's based on one of her favorite author's books, but she hasn't heard great reviews on the show. But like I said, we've only watched maybe an episode and a half, so it's kind of early to say. First episode I thought was fine. Nothing too bad, but we will wait and see
Yeah,
if I'm wasting my time.
I have seen it getting talked about a lot on TikTok and Instagram. Definitely going a bit viral. I don't know why exactly, just because I haven't watched yet, but it has been getting a lot of buzz lately. Yeah, lately, me and Madison, we actually just finished The Boys. They just finally wrapped up the show. They just finished the fifth season, and that's the end of the show. Very dark show. I think I've told you about it. It's kind of like how superheroes would actually be, right, in the real world, not like in Marvel or DC where they're actually heroes. They're very corrupted, very in it for the money, big, and they are working for big corporations. It was a pretty decent ending. It felt like the ending was very fan servicey. They just gave everybody what they wanted to see rather than taking a big risk and killing off a lot of people, which was interesting. They killed the enough people to where it was like, okay, yeah, this wraps up the show. There's not a whole lot you can do after this, but definitely a little bit fan servicey. They took the safe route, which, that makes them money. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I started watching that a while ago, and then I don't know what happened. We just kind of got pushed off onto something else. And then I think it was a week or so ago, Chris said, let's watch that. And then we start watching. He doesn't make it too long. He's just like, oh, we start shows so late at night. There's just so much going on lately. So hopefully we can get back into it and watch it because the first, probably 5 or 6 episodes I've watched and I do like it.
Yeah, it's
So I just need to
interesting,
keep
but
on
it's
watching.
very gory and it gets really, really political in the later seasons, which is fine as long as you can take it with a grain of salt, just understanding, kind of how movies and TV represent characterizations of the real world. But yeah, to get started, we'll go ahead and get into the first Anne Hathaway movie we watched was Rachel Getting Married. This movie is pretty interesting. Getting into the plot, I gave it an 8. So it follows Kim, played by Anne Hathaway. She's a recovering addict and she gets out of rehab just to go to her sister's wedding. And Kim is very volatile as a character, so it makes all the tensions very high whenever she's in the room, just because you don't know when she's going to kind of spaz out or, act crazy. And that's what everybody's kind of concerned about the whole movie. But there's a lot of unresolved family trauma that definitely gets taken care of at this wedding. And her attention, like, I don't know how to explain it. She has a demand for attention. She needs to have all the attention on her all the time. And it really, unravels kind of this joyous weekend that it's supposed to be for her sister. But yeah, overall, I gave it an 8. I thought it was a pretty good plot.
I I don't know if I agree with you there where you feel like she has to have all the attention all the time because sometimes I felt like she didn't want it, especially from her dad, because
Hmm.
it was every time she came by, her dad's like, "What do you need? Do you need this? Do you need that?" And I thought it was getting to be too much for her. Like, I think dad was just worried about her having another episode or, getting back into, alcohol or drugs or, her addiction. And he was so worried about that that he didn't wanna leave her alone. He was afraid that something would set her off and he wouldn't be right there to stop her or help her. So I kind of felt like she didn't always want her dad's attention, like it got to be too much. And I felt like her sister, it's her wedding weekend and dad's just all worried about Kim. Like, this is my weekend and I know Kim has issues, but turns out the sister had some issues too. But so it was kind of back and forth a lot,
Hmm.
at the
Yeah, I think that was the big thing with the push and pull with her character, right? Is obviously with her dad, it was kind of overshowered with attention, right? But then she wanted more attention from her sister, right? She wanted to be the bride, I can't think of the name, the second
bridesmaid.
bridesmaid. And so
And she wanted the maid of
the
honor.
maid of honor,
Right.
yeah, yeah, she was a bridesmaid. She wanted to be the maid of honor, and that was affecting her, right? Because her sister wasn't giving her that attention just because she's been away. Her
Mhm.
mom was a big talking point in this show. She was trying to get that attention from mom, but mom didn't seem like she wanted to be there for either of them for the wedding. So it was kind of interesting to see that back and forth. I agree with you though, that she definitely felt overshowered by her dad and making sure that she's okay all the time.
Yeah, and I kinda felt like too, like, did the sister like, she had her friend as the maid of honor and, when she threw a fit, she's like, "Fine, you can do it," but was it just because she's been away, or was it because of what happened in the past? Like,
Mhm.
I guess if it was what happened in the past, she might not have really involved her in the wedding at all because that was a pretty tough thing to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of getting into that with the characters, I gave it a 7. I thought the characters were pretty well done. I think if I had one knock on this, I felt like the relationship with the mom, maybe some scenes got cut out or something. I guess I didn't fully understand that. Obviously, they're in a bit of a love hate relationship. They love each other, but spoiler alert. Anne Hathaway, when she was younger, she got in a car accident with their little brother when she was drinking and killed the little brother. And so her mom obviously loves her because that is her daughter, but I think she still kind of blames herself for that. She blames herself for letting her go, but she also blames her for, drinking and driving essentially. So the stuff with the mom was a little bit weird to me because she always wanted to be there, but then she would kind of disappear at big moments, right? She wanted to leave the wedding early. That was a whole thing. Kind of what did you think about that whole dynamic between those two?
I didn't really understand.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the movie when she talked about it's basically I felt like him was trying to put it the whole when the brother died on her mom. Why would you leave me responsible for him? And they definitely something off with the mom, but I don't know if they just left it open ended for you to figure out. It seemed to me like she was an addict too, and maybe she was just out partying, running around, doing whatever she wanted to do, and just kind of left Kim and Rachel behind and kind of you guys figure it out. So I felt like Kim kind of blamed her mom,
Yeah.
for what happened.
Yeah.
But I felt like the mom had some kinda issue, they never really said, but something wasn't right there.
That's funny that you say it that like that's how you felt. I was getting maybe like we didn't see much of her mom's current whether he was a boyfriend or her husband, but I was thinking maybe and the daughters never really liked talking to him either, so I was thinking maybe she's in like a controlling relationship or something like that. It was just clearly something felt off in their family dynamic like that because the dad and his new wife, they were completely fine. They were very present in the
Yes.
wedding, happy for both their daughters being there, but the actual mom and her boyfriend or husband felt very disconnected from the rest of the group throughout the whole movie. And whether that was intentional or just kind of left out of the film, it was definitely noticeable and kind of knocked down the characters for me a little bit.
Yeah, it was sad that she didn't wanna be more involved for her daughter's wedding, but I didn't know why they were always, "Okay, we gotta go," and just running off and
Wasn't explained well, yeah.
yes.
Uh, yeah, getting into the cinematography for this film, I gave it a 9. I thought it was really interesting. to have a movie like this kind of filmed kind of camcorder style esque. I kind of told you it reminded me of Project X in that sense, kind of filmed on like a handheld camera throughout most of the movie, which is really interesting, especially with all these different family dynamics going on. It's cool to see it from that perspective, right? Early 2000s, this is probably what would be, a wedding would be filmed on, right? People taking videos of that whole
Mhm.
weekend. So it was cool to see it from that perspective rather than the typical, film camera just kind of telling the story. It felt like we were in the room with what was going on, which is neat.
Yeah, when you told me it was a film like that, I was just kinda dreading it, because it just made me had flashbacks to, like, the Blair Witch Project,
Yeah.
and I said I don't like scary movies, but that was one that I did watch. But no, I thought they did a really good job. I mean, yeah, you could tell it was handheld, but it wasn't, like, all over the place, and I like that perspective in this movie.
Yeah, it really kind of grabs the viewer and puts them into the scenes with them. It
Mhm.
feels like you're there. With that too, dialogue, I gave it an 8. I think the best dialogue of this movie was Kim. For the majority of their movie, but also her kind of telling the story of what happened to her brother. That was a really intense scene. I was gonna quote it, but it's 5-minute scene of her talking about and her whether it was AA or some sort of rehab meeting. Her going, she kind of basically just said, "Hey, look, I understand some people can look to a God and ask for forgiveness, but like she doesn't want to believe in a God that will forgive her." Because she still feels that terrible about what she did. And yeah, that just kind of shows. It was interesting to see that in the middle of the movie because leading up to that point, we didn't know how Kim felt about everything that had happened. We didn't know how she felt about her journey getting sober and everything like that. So that really showed us.
Yes, that was a heartbreaking scene for sure. Just hearing her have to say it and be able to say it, knowing all the guilt that she had for what happened. But it was definitely interesting. And when she first went back home and she walked into a room, I thought, well, that's weird. That doesn't really look like a girl's room, And then a few minutes later, she goes down the hall and throws her stuff on what looks more like a girl's room. And it's like, well, whose room was that? You didn't know at that point that that was Ethan's room and what had happened to him so many years ago. But that was definitely a great scene, her being able to talk about it, and then us finally realizing, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah. One, I guess I wouldn't call it a knock on the dialogue in this movie, but it did feel like there was a lot of useless dialogue. Obviously, the scene where they're kind of going around at the rehearsal dinner for the wedding, it's just a lot of banter, a lot of back and forth. So, not a whole lot going on in some scenes. So, you kind of just had to stay on your toes, ready for the big moments that would come. Not necessarily a knock, just kind of made the movie drag a little bit, I guess I'd say.
Yes, yes.
And then set design, I gave it a 7. Very naturalistic, felt lived in. The house felt cluttered and crammed because they were having a wedding at the house. It wasn't like a typical wedding where you book a venue, everything like that. It was just at their dad's house. They were having the wedding there. So it felt very lived in, felt very cluttered and crammed all the time because there was a lot of people and a pretty decently sized house, yes, but still a lot of people around. And I thought everything looked good. The environments looked good. The personalities looked good. I guess I would say I was a little confused on what kind of wedding this was.
I was just gonna say that.
It a lot of jazz inspired music and singing, but also I think
Indian.
Indian, yeah. And then it
Yeah,
felt like they were maybe Christian, and maybe I forget her husband's name. His side of the family was
don't
maybe
remember.
Muslim or of Islamic descent. I'm not really sure, but it felt like a lot of different cultures all involved into one. Maybe that was intentional, to kind of grab the viewers and say, "Hey, oh, you can relate to this kind of wedding. You can relate to this kind of wedding." So who knows really? But it was definitely interesting to see it that way.
Yeah, and with the set design, and early on in the movie when she came home, I thought, wow, there's a lot going on in this house, and I kind of felt like, oh, this is going to be really stressful for Kim and push her right back, just because it was so much. You know what I mean? From if she's been at a rehab center, it's probably like really calm and kind of quiet. So I was kind of like, oh wow, are they leading up to she's going to relapse and start all over again? Just
Mhm.
because it was so much happening in such a confined space. But yeah, I thought the set was good.
Yeah. Well, you got to think too. They show really well too, like you said. And she's coming from a calm environment, but she's also coming back home to a place where everybody has all these preconceived ideas about her now too. And so her
Right.
having to deal with that and kind of understanding whatever I say to this person, they already have their mind made up about who I am. So
Exactly.
that's kind of the tough part. And I think the movie displayed that really well, like how to kind of deal with that and how Kim dealt with it.
Yeah, it was kind of tough watching too, because it's exciting that she got to come home, and they never really. I don't know if it was just like a weekend pass, because at the end of the movie, she goes back with the lady from the rehab center. So I don't really know, but it's like, oh, great, you get to come home and be here for this wedding, but hold on, you're also bringing back these really bad memory. Seeing you probably just brings it all up again. So it was hard because it's like we're happy that she's here, but she also caused her little brother to die and he can't be here.
Yeah.
So that was tough to watch.
Yeah. With that, the acting, I gave it a 7. I thought the acting across the board was pretty good. I think there was an occasional like cringy kind of feeling with a lot of the actors. I mean, I think it was intentional, right? It's a family wedding with very, very different people involved all around. So you're going to have those awkward moments and things like that. But I think Anne Hathaway was the real star here. I'm glad this is a movie that we picked for this week because she was definitely a standout. Her dialogue, her tone, a lot of the times was very off-putting for a lot of the family members. I think of that scene at the rehearsal dinner where she gets up and starts talking, and everybody's like, "Oh God, we don't know what's going to happen next." But she really commanded the room in that scene, and I think she did a great job.
Yeah, it's funny because I've never even heard of this movie. And I like Anne Hathaway. I like a lot of her movies, but this is one that somehow just slipped through the cracks. I don't remember it ever being like a big movie that people talked about. So I don't know why, because I did think overall it was a good movie.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think all big actors have some that slip through the cracks, whether it comes out at a time of a big blockbuster hit and it kind of gets swept under the rug that way, or it's early in their career and kind of gets lost in that sense. A couple of years later, she had Devil Wears Prada and stuff like that coming out, so nobody really cared about her older stuff. So
Right.
getting into directing, this is directed by Jonathan Demme. He's kind of known for his naturalistic and intimate environments, which we definitely see here. And the only thing I really found that he also did was Silence of the Lambs, which is interesting. Yeah, that's definitely a way darker movie.
Wow.
I know this is
Yes.
dark, but yeah, it's a hard right turn for sure. And then Manchurian Candidate, I've never seen that one, but I've heard good things about that as well. Definitely a very emotionally complex film, which I think he did a good job at creating.
Yeah, I thought the directing was fine, but that's interesting that you say that he did the Silence of the Lambs too, because I was going to ask you what other movies, well-known movies, has he done? But yeah, I thought they did a good job. Just a few things I just wish we'd have had more answers on.
Yeah,
I don't really like the movies where it's like, well, you kind of make up your own decision about what was wrong with the mom, or was she just home on a weekend pass, or she just couldn't deal with all the stress and chaos of being at home and she wanted to get back out of the house. I don't know.
yeah,
So I like clear answers as to, what we're supposed to know or what we're supposed to think,
yeah,
not
yeah.
deciding ourselves.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the things in this movie, like we kind of talked about already, he kind of left up for the viewer's interpretation, right? So that way every viewer could have their own connection to the film. But yeah, some things like that, specific character developments, you kind of want to know a set in stone answer for why this is going on this way. The soundtrack, I gave it a 7. I thought it was pretty interesting. Like we kind of talked about, Middle Eastern music mixed with reggae music, mixed with acoustic folk music. It was kind of all over the place, but again, I think he was trying to really reach a wide audience and have them connect with at least something in the film, which is pretty cool. And then I thought the I can't remember her husband's name that they got married.
I don't know.
He sang Neil Young's "Unknown Legend" during their wedding vows. That was pretty neat as well. Obviously, he was coming from a music background, which was cool.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't nothing that stood out to me as far as the music goes. The one scene really made me laugh when, they were having a dramatic moment and they're just seemed like they were there all weekend playing music. Somebody was playing some kind of music somewhere and it's like, stop.
Yeah,
You need to just stop the music now because this is not appropriate.
yeah, definitely a reoccurring theme. They were just kind of sitting around all the time playing music, his friends and the band for the wedding.
Hmm.
For the theme, I gave it an 8. Obviously, we talked about pretty in depth already, but the profound grief of losing somebody, especially in a family, kind of the struggle for forgiveness for Kim, and then just overall complex family dynamics. And yeah, just the contrast between the celebration and dealing with those messy family dramas, basically. I thought the themes were really well done. They were profound, they were well explained, and everybody kind of hit on those notes really well. One thing I'd like to point out too is Paul, the dad. You could tell anytime the son was brought up, it really, really affected him deeply. So anytime that got brought up, you could tell it just flipped kind of a switch in his head when he got handed a plate that the young boy made when he was a kid. That was a really tough scene to watch because he went from so happy to instantly just
Yep.
torn up about it again, which is rough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good theme because it was, kind of you first think like the big deal is, her addiction and how she's going to handle it when she comes out. But it turns into, wow, you've got an issue. You've got an issue. It's not just me that has issues. Everybody has issues. And some of them I think were even before Ethan passed away. So just the whole family dynamic, you think everyone from the outside looks in and says, Kim's the one with the issue because she's an addict. But oh, wait a minute, did you guys know about Rachel's issue with her being bulimic and whatever issue the mom had? But it was just, it's not just her having an issue. Everyone's got it. And it's like real life. We all have our own demons that we deal with, and not everybody knows or everybody sees, but they're there.
Yeah. And I think that was a big point too, is, not to villainize Kim, but at the beginning we're like, oh, okay, she's a drug addict. But then we start
Right.
realizing like just because she's the only one, hers isn't necessarily more profound than everybody else's. Hers is just the one that's being spotlighted, which is tough for Kim to deal with as well.
Yep. Because everybody knows about that. Everybody,
Yeah,
knows what happened with Ethan, but no one knows about everyone else's issues. But
exactly.
he was not afraid to let them know they had issues too, which I like.
Yeah.
It's like it's not all me here, people.
Finally getting into the editing, I thought it was really well done, like we kind of talked about with the handheld camera style cinematography. I think it was put together really well, kind of a documentary style rhythm to it as well. And I've read that they pieced together over 100 hours of digital footage shot over just 33 days. So a pretty fast filmed movie. I imagine, some deep themes going on here, but I imagine basically just sticking everybody in the house for a weekend wedding and then kind of just filming that and saying, hey, let's just get as much footage as we can. You could definitely tell some of those scenes, right? Like the rehearsal dinner, like we talked about, just a lot of banter and a lot of silliness going on. Then they can kind of just piece together, I imagine, what a whole weekend would feel like for a wedding.
Yeah, I didn't have too many thoughts on the editing. I mean, I thought it all came out well, but that's hearing you say, they did over 100 hours. And so clearly there was a lot of editing done.
Yeah.
But I thought in the end that the final product was good.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
Yeah. So overall for this movie, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 or a 75. I really enjoyed it. Very different kind of movie from what we typically see, especially in these themes. It was very interesting to see how the way this was filmed with on like the documentary style with like a handheld camera. A very neat way to definitely go about making a movie like this.
Yep, I gave it a 7.4, so
There you go.
very close. But yeah, overall, I just thought it was a good movie, the story that it told and the way it unfolded. And I kind of liked that when she first came home, we didn't know what had happened,
Hmm.
and it made us wait. So they kind of build up all the characters. And then you start to, after you hear what happened, it's kind of like, oh, that's why they said this or that's why they felt this way. So I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, it was cool because we got to unravel the pieces of the characters while watching the movie rather than just
Mhm.
trying to come up with preconceived notions about these characters. Yeah, so next getting into Devil Wears Prada, definitely a long time coming. I Madison been telling me I need to watch this movie. I need to watch this movie. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The plot, I gave it a 7. So it follows Andy Sachs, played by Anne Hathaway. Surprise, surprise. She's an aspiring journalist who just moved to New York City with her boyfriend. She lands a job as an assistant to the ruthless Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl
Mhm.
Streep. She is the editor-in-chief of Runway magazine. And to survive, Andy kind of transforms her whole lifestyle and sacrifices her own personal life, ultimately realizing she has to choose between, an elite fashion career or her own life, basically. It kind of consumes her. I thought that was interesting. And it developed over the course of the movie. You could see that in her personal relationship with her friends and her boyfriend as well. first she's kind of talking about how she'll never be like her, and then before the end of the movie, she's exactly like her, and she realizes that and has to stop herself as well. I know you said you've seen this movie a long time ago, so what did you think of the plot?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's one of those movies that I've seen several times
Yeah,
because it seems like it's always on TV, and I just like, oh, that's a good movie because I don't really have to sit down and pay attention because I already know what's going to happen. But yeah, I thought she really wanted to be this great journalist. And okay, if I have to start at this fashion magazine, which I could care less about, to get my foot in the door, that's what I'm going to do. But she just wanted to, build herself up. And she, like you said, she slowly became one of them, which tore some of her personal relationships apart. But I thought she did a great job. And I do like this movie, and I have not got the chance to go see The Devil Wears Prada 2, but definitely can't wait to see that and where they go from here.
yeah, yeah. It would definitely be interesting to see that knowing at the end of this movie she walks away from it. So how do you kind of go back onto that? I think when we had Miss Laura on a couple of weeks ago, she brought that up. Like, where do you go from here? There's another whole nother movie, but how does she get back into Runway? Because she completely shut herself off from this. So we'll see where they go.
But how does she get back with Miranda?
Yeah,
Because just the fact that she was able to walk away from all of that because she saw what it was doing to her life, even though she had made it and she was doing really well. It's like it's not worth it. So how are they going to get her back with Miranda when she saw what it did to her and it wasn't who she wanted to be?
exactly. With the characters, I gave it a 7. I think Andy and Miranda were pretty good characters. The rest of the characters felt very one dimensional and kind of corny to me. Stanley Tucci's character was kind of interesting. He had a good relationship with Andy and kind of developing, hey, like, if you're going to take it this far, you have to take it this far. But he was always kind of the angel on her shoulder, I'd say, kind of talking her down out of doing some crazy things. Emily Blunt's character is kind of one dimensional. She's just kind of an ass, I guess, for lack of a better word, about everything. But Miranda was interesting to me because she's very stoic about in everything that she does. So having her finally open up to Andy at the end was interesting and kind of well deserved for the movie. It felt like we needed that. We needed to know more about Miranda, and seeing that opening up at the end was important for her character arc for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like even when she did open up, she's sitting here telling Andy that, well, my husband's not going to be at dinner unless you're going to get him to not sign the divorce papers. I mean, she opened up and told her,
Hmm.
and Andy offered, like, well, maybe I should cancel your dinner. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, just, okay, it is what it is. And she just went on. So she's just a very hardcore person.
Yeah.
And I think it did show a lot for her, the trust that she had developed with Andy. Because at first she just kind of like looked at her like, who is this girl? And no, she does not belong here. So she really started to admire her and say, okay, she proved herself. And Miranda was always giving her ways that she knew she would fail, and somehow she always came through with whatever task she was demanded to do. She made it happen.
Yeah. For cinematography, I gave it a 5. I thought it was just okay. Nothing special here. It's a blockbuster film. Takes place in New York, so you're not going to have too many like insane shots. Everything looked decent. It felt like New York, obviously, but nothing crazy camera work wise. I think that was kind of expected coming into a chick flick rom-com style of film. It's more about the dialogue and character development and interpersonal relationships between the characters as well.
Yeah, I agree. It was nothing special. It just one thing that did make me laugh is when I forget where Miranda was at, but she was trying to get back to New York, and it's just she's like, oh well, it's just a little bit of rain here, and there's like a torrential downpour and crazy high winds,
Yeah.
out the window. But yeah, nothing special. Just it was good though.
And then dialogue, I gave it a 7. My favorite line was, everybody wants this, everybody wants to be us. That's what Miranda said to Andy when they were sitting in the cab in Paris. And I think this was
Mhm.
a good contrast for Andy's character trying to understand, that's her breaking point. Is this what she wants to be the rest of her life? Or does she want to go and be the person she was before with her personal life? I think it was a great line that kind of delivered. And then obviously we see her walk away. She chose that she doesn't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah, and with that dialogue, it's sometimes I wondered in the beginning. I cannot remember what she called her, but she would always call her by the wrong name.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And it's like, is she just trying to get under her skin and poke at her and see if she's got tough enough skin to make it in this industry? Or was she really just could care less about the people that worked for her, and didn't really know her name, didn't take the time to remember her name.
Yeah, yeah, there was definitely some good dialogue between them in that sense, like always trying to get under her skin. It felt like,
Hmm. Yep.
but then also you're right. Do you question, is she getting under her skin, or she really just not care that much? Because like we said with the divorce, she just didn't even seem to care about that much either. She was just kind of
Right.
on her
Right.
way about it. So it's interesting to see. And then, obviously I want to see it in the next one too, kind of how they go from there. For set design, I gave it a 6. I thought it was pretty good. Kind of reflects the office itself, kind of reflects just kind of the cutthroat, hyper controlled environment. Everybody's always running around, very stressed out, avoiding Miranda all the time. And it was just very intimidating to be there. And then obviously the contrast with New York right against that same way, right? You can describe New York the same way, very cutthroat, very hyper controlled, very fast paced. So it was interesting to see that when they're running through the streets, when she says, I need you to go pick up these 25 belts from this place. And then she's running through the streets to try to get it. And then they're calling, oh, we need this too. She's turning around, going the other way. I thought it was pretty well done with the set design.
Yeah, I thought it was too, and it was like a aha moment when Emily, not really an aha moment, but when she's out, just how frantic she is running around to please Miranda. She ends up getting hit by a car and ends up hospitalized and losing her big chance to go to Paris. So it's all the hustle and bustle that you would expect out of New York City in a fashion magazine. I think they nailed it. I think they did a good job.
Yeah. For acting, I gave it a 7. I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, Miranda with Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway standing out, the two main actors in this role. Obviously, you had Emily Blunt in the background. I don't think she had been in much before this movie came out. So that's why I think she was kind of a supporting character. Right now, we see her and we're like, oh, why is she playing like the side role in this? She could easily be playing Andy's character too if she wanted to. But I don't think she had done much before this. And then obviously Stanley Tucci is another huge name in this movie. And as far as I know, all of them are returning in the second one as well. But I think they all did pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of developing the characters and showing the different personalities that they all have and different goals that I think they all have, because I know they're all there, seem to be all there to please Miranda, but deep down they all have their own personal kind of goals. Like Emily's big thing was going to Paris. I want to get to Paris. And Andy just wanted to become a better writer and not fall into that trap, but she fell right in. But she, stopped herself at the end and realized this is not what I want. This is not who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked it up. It seems like that was her like big breakout role, Emily Blunt. So it makes a lot of sense as to
Mhm.
why she was kind of a supporting actor. I mean, I imagine now you're making the second one, you have to spend a lot of money to get all of them back because huge names.
Mhm.
So directing, I gave it a 6, David Frankel. Initially, I read he was hesitant about the script. He pitched a creative revisioning that kind of framed Miranda as being brilliant and excellent driven rather than kind of the one-dimensional villain, which I think they kind of took a little bit of both, right? She is very smart. We can tell she's very smart and how successful she is, but also she is kind of a villain to everybody in her office, and even people on the outside see it that way too. So that ultimately convinced the studio and cast to kind of go from there. But I think it was okay. I mean, I don't think he's done much else anyway. Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like Devil Wears Prada, The Big Year, One Chance, Miami Rhapsody. Nothing else really going on here, honestly. But
Okay.
I think he did a fine job. Obviously, it's kind of a blockbuster hit. Nothing too crazy on the back end, but a comedic movie, a fun movie to go see.
Yeah, I've not heard of any of those other ones, but I thought the directing was good. Overall, I did enjoy this movie. Like I said, I wouldn't keep putting it back on the TV if I didn't. So I thought they did a good job.
And then soundtrack, I gave it an 8. I thought it was really great. Popular songs by U2, Madonna, and yeah, many others. But I think they used music really well in scenes to kind of progress on plot points, which is always a key thing for me. So I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, I did like the music in the movie. I also wanted the other, not really a song, but I just thought a sound effect of the movie. It's like whenever Miranda called and Emily's phone would ring, it was just like Miranda's personality.
Yeah.
Like it was just loud and bold and demanding.
Hmm.
And it was just funny. I know that's not part of the soundtrack, but it just made me think of that. It just was like her personality. That ringtone was just Miranda's personality, it seemed like.
No, yeah, that's definitely a great way to put it. And, you'll see directors kind of do that with people for sound effects, but also, yeah, soundtracks as well. I like when movies repeat soundtrack songs throughout the film. When certain characters come on, I think that's important. It kind of ingrains that the character development deeper into the viewer's head. When you hear that loud, obnoxious ringtone, you feel like even more about a certain way about that character. For theme, I gave it a 7. I think I was kind of thinking that this would just kind of be a popcorn movie, not a whole lot going on coming into it. But once I got into it, I was like, okay, there's actually good themes being developed here. Conflict between kind of personal integrity and personal relationships and the sacrifices we make to reach our career goals. Everybody goes through this, exploring how much you want to work versus how much you want to work just to be able to spend time with your family and friends on your time off, when clearly for Andy, this became her life. It also kind of explores the search for self-identity within a very cutthroat environment. Just being in that toxic workplace all the time, it really takes away who you are as a person and just makes you a number like everybody else. I thought that was really interesting to see here.
Yeah, I like the theme and, trying to see Andy make it and Miranda just giving her impossible tasks.
Hmm.
And she just kept going and going. And in fact, when she wanted that Harry Potter unpublished manuscript for her twin daughters, she basically called her boyfriend. Andy said, I quit.
Yeah.
I'm done. There's no way I can do this. So I had failed. And then somehow she was able to pull it off with the help of Christian, I think was his name. But yeah, it was just, it just showed her that, yeah, I can get to where I want to be, but this isn't the way I should get there. This isn't the person that I should be.
Hmm. Yeah. I was expecting, when I say like a popcorn movie, just not a whole lot going on, just here for the comedy and jokes, but it is actually a really good story, a really well thought out themes here. And then for editing, I gave it a 6. I think the editing was just fine. I think the cuts were okay. A lot of the sequences were pretty good. I like, the fast sequences, especially how we kind of speed jumped from the beginning of her job to about 6 months in. Just her every day walking in, throwing the jacket on Andy's desk. That's a great way to use passage of time, understanding that Andy's getting better at her job, Miranda's getting more stressed out and angry, and we don't have to sit through 30 minutes of development for that. We just kind of, the viewer can take that in and understand that. I think that was really good, because if you don't do that, then the movie ends up really dragging, which was good. I like seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought the editing was fine. When I watch movies, I don't really think about all that stuff that goes on in the background, but the end result was definitely, they did a good job.
Yeah, yeah. So overall score for this movie, I gave it a 6.6 or a 66 out of 10. Might seem lower than a lot of people, but it was a lot higher than I was expecting to give this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fine movie. I don't know that I'll go back and rewatch it. Again, it's just also not made for me. It's not made for a college-age white dude. But yeah, I get why people like this movie. I get why they see so much in it, and I'll definitely go see the second one as well.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 because like I said, it's a movie I enjoy and I can put it on at any time and come in at any point in the movie, and it still always pulls me in for some reason. And like I said, we'll have to see. I'll have to go with you to watch the second movie.
Yeah, yeah.
The Devil Wears Prada too. I'll drag you kicking and screaming.
So getting into next, we didn't want to rank Anne Hathaway's films just because I haven't seen enough of them to fully say I could rank all of them. She has some other really big ones that I haven't got around to watching yet. But what we wanted to do this week was do a chick flick draft, kind of make it easy on you since you haven't, been on the show or done anything like this before. I felt like this was a pretty broad category that we could, dive into a bunch of different movies for. So what we'll do, just to explain it for anybody who hasn't seen before, but also explain it to my mom, I'll spin a random name generator. So we'll decide who goes first, who goes second, and it'll be snake style, right? So if I get the first pick, then you'll get 2 more picks, and then I'll go that way. So the categories are going to be box office over 100 million, rom-coms, iconic actress. So, in this category, you'll pick the actress, and then also if you want to pick one of the movies that she's from that you'd say that is one of her iconic ones. Same thing for iconic actor, and then timeless classic, just kind of meaning that it's been out for a while, but still very iconic, very quotable, very a lot of people still watch it. And then wild card, meaning you can pick anything in that category. So yeah, we'll go ahead. Let me spin this wheel here. And then also, Mom, you don't have to pick it in any certain order. So you can kind of just do
Okay.
it however you want to do. If you feel like one category might be weaker than another, then you can just pick that one there. So I got the first pick. Just spun the wheel. So I'll get pick one, and then you'll get pick 2 and 3. I'll get 4, so on and so forth. And then let me get my notebook ready because I want to write these down. With my first pick, I have a feeling because Madison was helping you with this, I need to go ahead and take one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm definitely going to clip this and send it to Tyler just so he knows because I take it in every draft.
I know what's coming out of your mouth, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for rom-com, I'm going to go ahead and take La La Land. I love this movie. Have you ever seen this movie?
I have not. I'm not a big musical fan. I mean, I like the old Grease movies and things like that, but I'm not ever, I don't know, just not a big musical fan.
Yeah.
And you and Paige have told me I need to watch it. I need to watch it. So I'll have to watch it, but
I have a feeling
Tyler
that
would
you
probably really like it if I vetoed you right now, but I'm not doing it because
No,
I
no, no,
haven't
no.
seen it. So
No vetoes in this one. Vetoes is only when we're doing the rankings.
okay,
We'll do that next time. That way you can
okay.
trash on me. So yeah, I think you'd really like this movie. I know I'm not a fan of musicals that much either, but this movie is just very different in that sense. I think it's really well done. And obviously, yeah, Paige has told you a lot about it too. It's both one of our favorite movies of all time. So, and then now you can pick from whichever category you want to.
And that was rom-com
Yep.
that you did? Okay. I'm going to go with iconic actor
Hmm.
and Matthew McConaughey and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that. That's another one of these movies I can watch over and over again. And I really enjoy that movie. They both, him and Kate Hudson, do a great job in that movie, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I don't know how much you know about his career, but he was in a lot of these rom-coms, chick flicks early in his career, and he kind of told his agent, like, I'm done doing this. I want to get into a lot more serious roles, and that's just what I want to do. So he kind of talks about how Hollywood just kept throwing bags of money at him to try to get him to keep doing the rom-coms, and he just kept saying no. He's like, I would have been set up for life, but it's not what I enjoyed doing. It's not what I wanted to do. And then
Okay.
obviously, he ended up getting stuff like Interstellar and Dallas Buyers Club, and really took off from there as a really serious actor in Hollywood, which is awesome and cool that he was able to put his foot down like that.
Yeah, and I enjoy him. And I think you probably heard your dad say before how he got his start
Yeah.
in Gene commercials. Yeah, he seems like a genuine person. Anytime you see any kind of interview with anything with him, he seems like a good, down to earth person, and that makes me like him even more instead of some of these arrogant actors that are out there. It just
Me
makes
and
you kind of cringe.
me and Tyler always laugh about he is really big fan of University of Texas football, and the Texas football head coach just lets him stand on the sideline every week. Every
Hmm.
Saturday, he's just there in his leather jacket yelling at the
Yeah,
players like he's a coach on the team.
yeah, like he's somebody. Okay, I think the next one I'm gonna do is a timeless classic, and I am really torn here because I got two movies. I'm gonna go with Pretty Woman.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My other one there, should I say? The one that I was struggling with?
Save it, and
Okay.
at the end of the draft, we'll kind of go through like some honorable mentions. So if there's anything that we didn't pick but you really like, you can kind of tell me about it then. In
Okay.
case one of us wants to take it, or you could even come back and take it in another category if you wanted to.
Okay.
So for my next pick, there is a lot on the board here still, and some really good ones. I'm going to take box office way over 100 million. I'm going to go ahead and take Barbie as a chick flick. I don't know if you've seen this, but I enjoyed it. I think it's a fun movie. Obviously killed the box office and the whole hype train with Barbie and Oppenheimer last year, but really took over this summer. I really like this movie. I think it was really well done. And yeah. And then my second one, I'm just going to go, this one guy is in all three of these movies. I'm just realizing this. So I'm going to take iconic actor and I'm going to take Ryan Gosling and Crazy Stupid Love. And yes, he is in all three of my movies so far, which is funny. Have you seen this movie?
I give me a little synopsis because I think
So
I have, but it's been a
it's
while.
Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. And
Yes,
the
yes,
yeah,
I have seen it. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
He's trying to help him
Okay.
like get back in the dating game, but
Mhm.
they stop talking to each other and then he ends up going out with his daughter and it's kind of a messy movie, but it's really funny. And I think Ryan Gosling does a really good job in it.
Okay. All right. So I get two picks now.
Yep.
I am going to go with box office over 100 million.
Yep.
Chick flick The Breakup.
The Breakup.
Have you seen that with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn?
I don't think I have. I think I've seen clips of
Okay.
it though.
It's a good movie. It's, they live together and then it's just like he can't seem to do anything right. And, they end up, okay, well, we're breaking up and neither one of them wants to leave their condo. And then they, just start having this battle. Like he just sets up a pool table in the living room and then her brother's in like a cappella band and she lets them come to her bedroom to practice, bright and early in the morning after he's been drinking and partying all night. And then they end up, of course, selling the condo, splitting up. But in the end, they bump into each other on the street. And it's like you can still feel that connection. Like they both realize that the breakup was the best thing for them, but you just still feel like they still had feelings for each other at the
Yeah.
end. That was a good movie. I would recommend watching that one. I liked it.
Okay. I'll check that out.
And then for my wild card,
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with Meryl Streep and It's Complicated. You seen that one?
I haven't.
Okay, that's another one. It's got Meryl Streep, Steve Martin, Alec Baldwin, John Krasinski. It was just a really good cast, I thought. So the mom and dad have been divorced for years, and the next thing you know, kids are graduating from college. Things mom and dad bump into each other, start hooking up again, but dad was already remarried, and that's why it's all complicated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a cute movie. That's a good movie. That's a good chick flick, I think.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and go a timeless classic and I'll take Mean Girls. Obviously, just an iconic movie. I think, it's been out long. It hasn't been out as long as, some of these movies that we're picking, but I still hear people like quote this movie all the time. I still hear people talk about this movie all the time. And I think it'll be that way for a long time. I don't see this movie going anywhere in that sense. So
Yes.
definitely timeless in that sense. And then let me see.
Yeah, that movie is just so fetch.
Yeah.
Not to quote the movie or anything.
So I think for my wild card, I'm going to go ahead and take When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, that's a good one I didn't even think about.
I watched this one a couple weeks ago. Back when I think I actually watched this one for the rom-com episode we did.
For the first time.
Yeah, for the first time. I had never
Okay,
seen it
wow.
or heard of it or anything like that, which
Mhm.
was shocking to me because this movie is really good. I think this movie does a good job in the rom-com category, kind of exploring the ups and downs of relationships rather than just having it be stereotypical good the whole movie. There's some
Mhm.
really deep, personal conversations they had to have each other, which was really cool to see. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like this one a lot.
Okay. Is it back to me?
Yep, you should. You can take your last two.
Just have one. I think I only have one left on there.
You have box office, iconic actor, timeless classic, and wild card. So you still have to do rom com and iconic actress, unless I forgot to write
Okay.
something down.
Nope, nope.
Okay.
Okay. For rom-com,
Hmm.
I'm going to go with Cameron Diaz, Something About Mary.
Okay.
You've seen that one, right?
Nope.
Really? That's a good movie. It's, Cameron Diaz and Ben Stiller went to high school together. We're supposed to go to prom together. Terrible mishap. They didn't get to go to prom, and he ends up trying to look for her years later down the road. And it's a good movie. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's a goofy, funny movie. I like that one.
Okay.
And then for iconic actress, we're going with Sandra Bullock in The Proposal.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'd say she's
You've seen
definitely.
that one with Ryan Reynolds?
I haven't seen it, but I'd say she's definitely
Okay.
a chick flick star. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cute movie because she's the boss and she's Canadian and no, she's going to get deported. And then so she decides that her assistant, Ryan Reynolds, is going to marry her to keep her in the country. So it just spins off from there. But it's a good movie.
And it's called The Proposal, you said?
The Proposal,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And with my final pick, I was really hoping you didn't take this there because I'm a big fan of hers. I'm going to take iconic actress Kate Hudson in Fool's Gold. Yeah, I really like Kate Hudson. I was going to try and go after the combo of Kate Hudson and McConaughey. I know they have a couple movies together, rom-coms, but I think she's really great. That movie, I know it's kind of corny. A lot of people aren't that big of a fan of it, but I can't take How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days because you already took that one. So I'll just take it for Fool's Gold.
Yeah, I don't think it's a corny movie. That's another fun movie that, all these chick flicks and rom-coms, it's kind of movies that I just really enjoy. I thought that was a cute movie.
So I'll go ahead and read off my team and then you can read off your team. So I have box office over 100 million. I have Barbie. For rom-com, I have La La Land. For iconic actress, I have Kate Hudson in Fool's Gold. For iconic actor, I have Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love. For timeless classic, I have Mean Girls. And for wild card, I have When Harry Met Sally.
Okay, I think I went for box office over 100 million. I went with The Breakup. For rom-com, Something About Mary. Iconic actress was Sandra Bullock in The Proposal. Iconic actor Matthew McConaughey, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Timeless classic, Pretty Woman, and wild card, It's Complicated.
Cool. So what was the one you were saving? Did you end up taking it somewhere else?
No, Ghost for a timeless classic.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
You never seen Ghost with Demi Moore and oh wow, I just completely forgot his name. Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, okay.
That oh yeah, and that's finance. That would be you might enjoy that movie. They're like in finance and people embezzling, stealing money, and it's a really good love story.
Yeah.
I think that was 80 something. I can't even remember when that movie came out, but it was good.
Did you have any other honorable mentions that you didn't pick, nobody picked, you were kind of shocked by?
What Women Want. Have you ever seen that one? And who was in that movie? I'm gonna have to look that up. I can't remember. Hitch. Have you seen
Yeah,
Hitch?
I've seen Hitch. I think that you showed me
I
that
was
on
thinking
your
about that one, and I can't believe I can't try to look up the actor's name.
Some other big ones that we didn't pick, obviously Devil Wears Prada, which we did this week. Mamma
Yeah.
Mia, I'd consider a chick flick. Let's see what else. The Notebook is a huge one that we didn't take.
Mm-hmm.
Grease, definitely a timeless classic category. I'm sure there's hundreds of more, but yeah, there's a lot of different movies.
Yeah, it was Mel Gibson. I
Okay.
couldn't think of. And like movies like Just Go With It,
Mm-hmm.
51st Dates, Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah, like you said, the list goes on and on. There's some good movies, but all of these are movies that I could just watch. My Big Fat Greek Wedding was a good one too.
Yeah, there's another one, Pitch Perfect, not really necessarily. I mean, it is kind of
Yeah.
a love story, but definitely a chick flick. Footloose. Yeah, a lot of different chick flicks out there, and they kind of end up merging into the rom-com category. But yeah, all right, Mom, thanks for coming on. Definitely have to have you on again. Thanks for listening to all of our episodes too. We really appreciate it. I know you always come home, tell me about the ones you listen to, the ones
Sure.
you're getting to next. So we appreciate it.
No problem. And thanks for having me and giving me like a deeper appreciation for movies. A lot of times I just kind of sit and watch them and I don't think about all these categories and different things. So to try to really dive into the movies a little more, I just watch them and be like, oh, that's funny. Oh, that's cute. So this is giving me, when I watch movies, it's with more intent now to kind of think about all these different things. So thank you guys for the podcast. I enjoy it.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.